Langa is a black township just outside Cape Town, South Africa. Under the South African system of apartheid, blacks are forced to live in segregated ghettos outside the cities where they work. These shacks used to be homes for black families. But now the white government has turned them into barracks for male workers only. The shacks are divided into compartments. There are 18 men in each compartment. Sunday is the only day off for these workers, but they cannot spend it with their families because their wives and children have been evicted and resettled in special rural areas, the Bantustans. The government keeps the men here to work in the factories and docks of Cape Town. They live in these labor camps and can only return to the Bantustans for 1 month in every year. For the other 11 months, their wives in the Bantustans can do nothing except wait for news and money from them. The nearest Bantustans are over 300 miles away, and a government act prevents the women and children from joining their husbands in the townships. The government's justification for their policy of splitting up black families was given by Mr. Froneman while he was Deputy Minister of Justice.
Black workers must not be burdened with superfluous appendages like women and children.
Over 50% of black workers and their families are now forced to live apart, and here in Cape Town the figure has reached 85%. In this film, we show what it's like for the black people of South Africa to be on the receiving end of the white government's apartheid policies. South Africa is a rich, industrialized country with the capability of producing her own nuclear bombs. In this country of 22 million people, the lives of the 15 million blacks, 2 million coloreds, and 600,000 Indians are totally controlled by the white minority of under 4 million. The whites alone have the vote, and the whites alone control the government and the law, industry and the armed forces. From this solid base of supremacy, white South Africans enjoy the highest standard of living in the world. These signs are the face of apartheid, familiar to the outside world. Often they seem to be carried to incredible lengths. Areas for Chinese only, while Japanese businessmen, for sound economic reasons, are classified as honorary whites. Whites-only beaches, where blacks spend the day shoveling back the sand washed away by the sea. But such scenes are only the absurd part of a system which is designed to allow the whites to maintain exclusive power and control over the blacks. As the Prime Minister, Mr. Vorster, has said,
"We need them to work for us, but the fact that they work for us can never entitle them to claim political rights, not now, nor in the future, under no circumstances."
Mr. Vorster's party, the Nationalists, have been in power for the last 25 years. They've been able to put into effect their doctrine of apartheid because of their military strength. Prime Minister Vorster was imprisoned during the Second World War for his pro-Nazi sympathies. At that time, he said,
"We stand for Christian nationalism. You can call the anti-democratic principle dictatorship if you wish. In Italy it is called fascism, in Germany National Socialism, and in South Africa Christian nationalism."
Under apartheid, 87% of the country is reserved for the whites and called South Africa. The remaining 13%, made up of about 100 pieces of land, has been renamed the Bantustans, the so-called homelands for the blacks. All the principal towns, mineral resources and industry are in the white area, and so is the most productive farming land. At present, 8 million blacks live in the white area, and 7 million are compelled by law to live in the Bantustans. The government's present plans include the forced removal from the white area to the already overcrowded Bantustans of up to another 4 million blacks, those labelled as superfluous appendages. This woman and her family live in the Transkei Bantustan. Like all the Bantustans, the Transkei is desperately poor and underdeveloped. They are, as one black leader said, cesspools of poverty, ignorance and disease. The pot-bellies and the apathy of these children are the all too familiar signs of malnutrition. For a family to survive, the men have to go away to the cities to work for the whites. It's often impossible for the women left behind to grow enough food because drought and soil erosion have destroyed the land. An official report estimated that the Bantustans could provide a subsistence living for only 2.5 million people. Today, already 7 million people are forced to live in them. As more people are herded into the Bantustans, the standard of living declines further. The income of each person here is now only £13 a year, among the lowest in the world. And yet, only 100 years ago, before the white conquest, the forefathers of these people were famous for their large herds of cattle. Today, the children are in tatters, and the women grow old in their 20s. The white government claims that under apartheid, the blacks can develop separately in the Bantustans. But the conditions of life here make a mockery of any of the government's claims of separate development. For even the government can no longer pretend that there's any land for the people they are moving to the Bantustans from the townships. For most of these families are put in specially built camps like this one. This is called Ozizweni, and is in a KwaZulu Bantustan. Families who have lived all their lives in towns are given a one-room hut like this for their new home. There's nothing for the families in these camps, no land and no work. The people try and survive on the meager earnings from their absent husbands, brothers and sons who are away working in the cities. The government's justification for these mass removals was given by Mr. Botha, the Minister for Bantu Administration and Development.
The Bantu people like being moved. The Bantu people like the places where they are being resettled.
Already in the last 10 years, 1.5 million people have been moved, and the government plans to uproot a further 4 million blacks in the largest forced movement of people in peacetime. The government provides practically no services or facilities for those already forced to live in the Bantustans, let alone for those who are being resettled. These women and children are walking to a clinic in the Transkei Bantustan. They walk in from villages up to 20 miles away, often setting off before dawn. Each week, over 400 people attend the clinic, held here by the staff from a mission hospital. Most of them are suffering from malnutrition. Here, 1 in every 5 people has tuberculosis, and the major malnutrition disease among children, kwashiorkor, has increased by 300% over the last 4 years. The nurses and the doctor from Holland do what they can, but their resources are inadequate for the basic needs of the people. In South Africa, there is 1 doctor for every 400 whites and 1 doctor for every 44,000 blacks. For the 40,000 cases of malnutrition treated by doctors every year, there are over 1.5 million which are never seen. Of those who are seen, the lucky few receive treatment in one of the overcrowded black hospitals. For many, their first trip to hospital means their first proper meal. With this food, most of these children will recover, but 6 months after their release from hospital, many of them will be back, again suffering from malnutrition. There's nothing their mothers can do. They're too poor to feed them properly. 2 doctors who collected figures in a typical Bantustan discovered that 50% of the children died before the age of 5. The malnutrition diseases leave children retarded both mentally and physically for the rest of their lives. These children are suffering not because their country is poor, but because 87% of the land is reserved for the whites. This cattle auction is taking place on the edge of white South Africa, near the Transkei. The forefathers of these farmers conquered the Africans in the 19th century, took their land, and destroyed or stole their cattle.
Front, 168, sir.
Today, blacks are only allowed back onto their original lands to work for the whites, and their children die in the Bantustans for lack of milk. It's not sold, Sam.